Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the show today, and thank you so much for joining. If you're here for the first time, this is a homebuyer seminar. It's aimed at if you're moving to Texas, we want to help you get here. We want to give you a little more insight on what it's like to move to Texas, but we also want to help your home buying situation as well. Big goal today is to go for the home buying aspect. If you have moving to Texas questions, absolutely let us know in the comments what you'd like. If you have questions, I will have my info linked below as well. And if you need a lender, we're with Drake today. So, okay. So from here, we're going to get started. So my name is Tim Angel. As you can see, that's my channel. I do a lot of home tours in Fort Worth, and I talk about the cities and Fort Worth, Dallas area. I talk about the cities, and I do little videos on helping you be educated about if you're moving here or if you have questions about where you're moving to. So I work at Compass Real Estate, and I have a huge passion for helping home buyers find their perfect home when they move here and helping them sell, helping those that need to sell. I want to really help you get as much money as you can, depending on the market. It's really crucial for me. I always like to stay updated on where the market is and where it's trending. So if you have questions about the market, of course, let me know below. If you're in the area looking to buy or sell, I would love to help. So anytime you need anything, give me a call. I'm gonna let Drake introduce himself now. So take the stage, Drake.
Absolutely. So, my name is Drake Versini. I'm a producing branch manager at Venture Home Loans. So, I have been in the business since 2016, and my role in this process really is, as Tim mentioned, he's going to help you either find the property and match, what you're looking for to the home and, the community or the area. And then on my side, I'm the numbers guy. So helping you figure out, what does my income correlate to qualifying? What do we look at in terms of credit? Are there certain minimum credit scores or, do we need certain trade lines? So my goal is kind of to help you determine your loan suitability. So, take your scenario, match it to, how do we get the best terms? Is there things that I can work on between now and when I buy, so we could put a plan together in that regard? So that's really what I focus on, is meeting you where you're at and then helping you get across the finish line.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to talk about the buying process and how it works here in Texas and many states. But I'm going to show you our unique buying process here, and then we'll give it over to Drake, and he'll give us a little more information as well. So here we go. So the first thing I want to point out to you guys is you really want to connect with a realtor. So when you are in the process of looking at Zillow all the time, how do you know who's going to be working with you? So connecting with the realtor and looking at Zillow at the same time is totally fine, because the realtor wants to help, but you need somebody to send your realtor. You need somebody to send your Zillow links to if you find the perfect home. So you want to work with somebody who is organized, has a plan, and you need to enjoy being around. Talk about what your home needs and wants are with them, and understand whether, my big thing is whether they're a full-time or a part-time licensed agent. If they are part-time, that means they have another job competing with their time. And in my opinion, that's not going to be the best fit for you, honestly, because their life is not centered around real estate. It's centered around real estate part-time. So if anything falls off the line and they're not aware of it because they're working a different job, that could have ramifications on your job making it to the finish line. So that's my first tip for you guys. Second, getting pre-approved is very important. getting pre-approved, and that's where Drake comes in. Drake will be able to help you here. Getting pre-approved is absolutely important. And that's the first thing I like to do, because getting pre-approved shows you how much you can afford on a home. And that helps you have a realistic budget, and it helps you understand what's going to actually go into searching for a home in this process. The last thing I'll say there is, you don't want to be the customer that says, I can afford a $750,000 home, look for a month, and then once you find the perfect home, we jump on it and get that pre-approval, and the pre-approval can only come in at 5 to 600. So that could be a really big bummer, and it could be a tough one to take if you have your eyes set on a $750,000 home. So I always really want you to get pre-approved. That's where Drake comes in. We're a team here, and we really make your pre-approval process easy. Once you get that paper that says you can afford this much, we start searching for that home right away. Okay. And I never encourage my buyers to always just go for their highest pre-approval either. Let's see what we can find under that. Right now it's a buyer's market, which we'll discuss later. And it's kind of a buyer's market, there's a little leeway for sellers, but inventory is definitely up right now. So then after that pre-approval, we start searching for homes. You find the perfect home, we make an offer. And then where I come in is negotiation and that contract. I help write up that contract, making sure you're following all in the contract, you're following all the deadlines. I negotiate with the seller's agent, and I want to make sure that you're getting the best deal. I look at comps to make sure you're going to even appraise on your home. If I have appraisal issues, I'm going to definitely bring that to your attention. So then we go into escrow. Once that executed contract happens, we go into escrow, and we then have final details, and we do a walkthrough, and we close on the property. So escrow will take about 2 to 3 weeks, probably about a month at the most in this market and with the best lenders. It can be a little shorter depending on where you are. Are you fully approved, or are you just getting started on the process? So after we do that final walkthrough, we close on the house, and after funding, you get your keys to your new house. So this is a huge process. This is why Drake and I are taking on this class. We really want to help you be able to make your goals in real estate happen. If you're moving here, we really want you to have the best knowledge of where you're moving to. Drake and I have both moved here from Seattle in the last 12 to 14 years, and we both didn't really know what we were getting into when we moved here. So being able to move here and have a knowledge of the area, it's not always like cut and dry that's going to happen. Sometimes you have to get started and buy a home sight unseen. So you really want to have your strategy down. That's where Drake and I want to come in and help you when you're ready to move. So with that, I'm going to give it over to Drake, and Drake's gonna help us through some stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So to pick up where you left off in regards to the importance of pre-approval. So there's kind of two trains of thought that people will go down. One is, well, I don't want to get pre-approved unless I know that there is a house that I'm interested in. And then there's the second thought that is, well, we don't want you to look at the house unless you're pre-approved first. The big reason being is because, if you can't afford the house in the first place, then you're really just setting yourself up for a letdown. So, in terms of the pre-approval, really what it is the pre-approval is evidence and that you have an approval from a lender to actually get financing and secure financing on a property. So what we do, there are pretty firm guidelines, before 2008, in like the wild west of lending, there was a lot more leeway to secure financing. And now post 2008, there are more firm requirements that you must meet. So there's different loan programs for different scenarios, but there's still minimums. So, as an example, you could have, $1 million in the bank, but if you have a 400 credit score, then it really doesn't matter if you're really well qualified in one aspect but not another. So my job is to again meet you where you're at and kind of go through this in human terms. So so the credit, just to go over a few things. So there are, I would say, 90% of homeowners are either in a conventional loan or an FHA loan. So with conventional, that's a 620 minimum credit score. With FHA, that would be a 580 minimum credit score. There's also VA loans. Typically, that's a 580 credit score. But one of the perks of VA is that there is no firm credit score requirement. However, lenders do have overlays where, from lender to lender, most require a 580 credit score still. So credit is a big aspect of that in terms of what loan we're going to match you with. And then the second thing is down payment. So the gold standard for a conventional loan, so that's any loan amount that's below $806,500, $806,500, that has a minimum down payment of 5%. Now there are programs, so there's like a first-time home buyer program, Home Possible, Home Ready through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that allow for 3% down. And then there are state-specific programs where they'll actually allow you to go down to 0. So there's programs out there. There are requirements. You can't make more than a certain amount, but there are programs out there to match your scenario. So so then for FHA, the minimum credit score down payment is 3.5%. And then when you go above a loan amount of $806,500, then you typically have a requirement of 20%. So now, again, there are some caveats. So there are programs that allow you to do 10% down on a jumbo. However, it very general with lending is the less money you put down, the higher your interest rate and the higher your fees are. So if you put more money down, there are perks to that. So that's really what we would look at is, your credit score, your down payment. And then from there, we can determine what's the max principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payment that you'll qualify for. So as we have our initial conversation, you may have, your important thing is we don't want our payment to be above a certain amount. So as we go through this scenario, we can play with, I want to put this amount down and I want my payment to be around here. So from there, we can help determine a program and a house price that we can then relay to Tim. And then you and Tim can get a home search and really identify, okay, here's a home we qualify for with the payment that we want and the down payment amount that we're comfortable with as well. So my goal is, over that initial phone call, we have this conversation, we get you pre-approved, and then we have realistic expectations for what you'll qualify for. Ultimately, we want to help you achieve your real estate goals in a realistic way, and ultimately not have a letdown occur. So the pre-approval addresses all that and sets you up for success from the outset.
Very cool. So Drake and I, we kind of put a pause on working with a potential home buyer that's actually relocating to Texas now. And I'll just discuss a little bit about that situation. So he went into the pre-approval process, which is only step 2 out of 8 steps here, guys. And so before we can look at a home, like he wants to move really fast. He actually had a home to sell where he was living in, I think it was Louisiana, but he had a home to sell. And in order to sell that home, he needed to have a home to buy. So Drake was helping him through that pre-approval process. And we found out that there was some issues on his credit score that caused him to not be able to get pre-approved at all. So the first issue was a late payment on a home. And that was from a long time ago, about 6 to 8 months ago. But as Drake will tell you down below, if you're late on that payment, it puts a stop on you being able to get pre-approved for a mortgage for a year. So,
right.
So that really damaged his possibility of being able to buy a house in the next few months. And honestly, unfortunately, well, I mean, for the best part, for me and Drake, we didn't put a lot of time in trying to get him under contract, trying to work out things. I didn't put a lot of time into searching for a home because we went through that pre-approval process. And what else did we do? We set up a plan for when he's ready to go. We're going to try and find him a lease for when he's here. When he moves here, we're going to try and find him a lease for 6 to 8 months, and then we're going to try and be ready to go right when that pre-approval can happen. Right, Drake? Do you want to expand a
Exactly.
little?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So, and part of that too is we don't want to give the home buyer false hope. So, during that process, we can identify, there's a 30-day late. It's considered a derogatory mark. It's a pretty big deal because your lender is trying to qualify you for another mortgage, and you just prove to us that you are unable to make your mortgage payment on time. So there's a 12-month seasoning requirement from that 30-day late. So, this gentleman was gung ho, ready to go and move here, but unfortunately, he had experienced this. He had, a reason for why it had happened, but ultimately, we can still get him here, and it's just not going to be with the home ownership route at this time. And I would say that's something critical too, is, with where the economy is and how things are, the current state, there's very unique things that come up, and ultimately we want to put a plan together because it's really rarely ever just a dead end. It's more of, this came up, this is what we need to do. And we clearly communicate that. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer, but not the end of the world because we can put a plan together and work towards his goal.
And you guys, that's the most helpful thing here is going through these steps, having a plan together. If you don't go through these steps and you're trying to do something on your own, you might be in for a rude awakening. That guy that needs to sell his house, which we will hopefully do in the near future, he'll sell it in Louisiana, and I have to work with his agent to make sure that sale goes smoothly so he can have the down payment to buy the next house when he moves here. So working together, it's such a teamwork thing. If you have a house to sell in the state that you're moving here from, you really want to have a rock star agent on that side. And then we need to communicate as an agent to agent and even an agent to lender. That lender, I believe she's reached out to you. That agent's reached out to you a few times, right, Drake?
Correct. Yep. So she's up to speed on the same page too.
Yeah. So to go through all of these things, the most important thing is connecting with a realtor and a lender, having a team together, make sure they work together and get that pre-approval in writing, get it sent to you from that lender, and make sure you're rock solid and ready to go. Yeah. So anything else you want to share, Drake?
I think that was the big that was big for me, but happy to elaborate if we get any questions or if there's anything else.
Yeah. So you guys, since we're going live right now, if you just found my channel, I would love for you to like and subscribe to this network. Drake and I work together closely, and we want to help you be the successful home buyer, the relocator to Texas. We want to help you in everything that we can, and that's our goal when we are here on this stream. We want to help you with all your questions about moving to Texas and buying a home in Texas. So if you have questions and you missed the live stream today, put them in the comments. I will answer them later, and we'll get in touch. If you have questions, just to tell you just a little bit about the market, both Drake and I can maybe expand on this, and we can discuss it a little bit. But Drake, I'm seeing home sales are rising. I did a little search this morning, and I found that we're at about a 3.5, 3.6 inventory, which the normal inventory is somewhere around in the 6% or whatever. Can you expand on that any?
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying, like you mentioned, it's kind of turning into this buyer's market where, in general, I think the effects of higher interest rates are really trickling down. I think that things are a little bit more like right now, consumer debt is at an all-time high. So people are selling, and really you're seeing days on market. And I think in general, like in Texas, homes are selling for about 94% of list price. So you look, and if, I think people use Zillow and Redfin quite a bit, but if you're on any searches, you're looking your inbox and it's price decrease, price decrease, price decrease. So
For sure.
it's it's an interesting market though, because it is still competitive with your properties that are highly appetizing. So if it's turnkey in the right price range, in a good area, like those homes are still competitive. But in
Absolutely.
general, it's a interesting market, but it is difficult just in some terms, for
Yes.
sure, and that would be on the listing side.
And I'll add to that as well. I have a client. I listed their home. It's really about that competitive price, but they that home had many things that were very desirable to a buyer, including a third car garage, and the price range was around 360, and it was in a very desirable part of town. And they ended up getting 12 showings and 4 offers in
Hmm.
one day on market, and that was literally less than, I believe, 30 days ago, and that home is now closed. But yeah, I mean, all I'm seeing in my inbox is a lot of price decreases, price decrease.
Hmm.
So
Right.
my urge to you guys is to really know what's it like in this market. In the comparables that I send to everybody, I say, hey guys, here's the comparables that have sold, and here is how many days they've been on market when they went under contract, and here's what they sold for. And I try to help people understand they sold for this much under. We should be competitively priced, but also just expect if you're gonna price higher than that, you're probably not gonna end at
Hmm.
at the exact value that you're listing your house. And time again, so many people tell me that as they're the sellers, it's a very emotional uh, ride. So as the seller, it's really easy for you to say, "Oh, well, my house is definitely worth this." And I try to be, I try not to be the bad guy, but I try and help you see the logic in
Hmm.
actually your house is more going to sell for this. So, um, if sellers want to try a price, I'm absolutely happy to let them, but I also want them to understand we need to react to the market. And if people decide that they don't want to pay that much, we need to understand that those offers might come in lower. And if we don't get the action that you want, we might we might lower the price. So with that, I want to just tell you that it definitely is starting to transition with a buyer's market. Um, it's basically, I said 6%, but it's 3.8 months of inventory in Dallas Fort Worth right now. And that is still below the 6-month threshold for the balanced market. Um, so for a balanced market to be a normal market, showings, you're getting a few showings on a house. That's great. Um, but you want to know that if you see the perfect house here, it's still below a balanced market, and those houses are going quick. Like the
Hmm.
perfect house priced right in the right neighborhood, people are making offers on those quicker than you can think. And if you want to say, well, are these buyers qualified? I'll let you know a secret. The only people out there buying houses right now are the qualified buyers. So
Hmm.
if there's a few showings on a property and an agent says to your agent, hey, we've had 3 showings today, you better bet that that property's in competitive range of getting an offer, because the people that are out putting offers on houses right now, they're not people that are just wishy-washy. They are ready to go, and this is probably the house they want if they're actually even going to see it. So
Right.
that's just my little serious rant here. Anything else to add today, Drake?
No, it's good stuff. I mean, we could nearly just have something on this topic, because it also, like what type of houses are a good look, where if you don't want to deal with competitive scenarios, but maybe you're okay with doing, putting some renovation work into it, like a house with a newer roof, good HVAC, and maybe it needs some landscaping, if you're okay with doing a little renovation work, if it's dated or whatever, like that's a good buy. So just depending on what you're looking for, what you're interested in, Tim is amazing at what he does and sells a lot of houses. So there's a lot of avenues, and we're happy to talk and elaborate on anything that you're interested in.
Yeah, thanks so much. And Drake is a rock star. I've absolutely, we just closed a deal recently, and it was the smoothest deal I've done. Drake was awesome, and we got through it flying colors, and I would put him on my team anytime if I was a home buyer. And
appreciate that.
So with that, you guys, I just want to touch on one more thing. If you're relocating here, I have a relocation guide and a buyer's guide that I can give you for free. My biggest thing, and I'll try and have a handout that I can present next time, but my biggest thing that I want you guys to know is when you're moving to Texas, you want to know about property taxes. They're a lot different than anywhere. They will influence what you can afford and what you can't afford. If you're moving from Washington, they're a lot different and a lot cheaper. So you just need to understand that when you're getting into understanding that. Drake is amazing and will be able to guide you there. Next thing you need to understand is the cities. You need to understand where you buy. You should be concerned about the schools, whether you have kids or not, because where you are located is a huge part of if you ever resell or not. If you buy and then sell 10 years later, you really want to know that the area you're in is a good area. I have resources for that as well, AKA why you should use a realtor. If you have a specific place you want to live close to family, you really want to know the neighborhoods that are hot and the neighborhoods that are not. That's something I can help with as well. So you guys, thanks so much for being with us today. And I'm glad we got on here, Drake, and holding this. And you guys, if you have a friend that needs home buying support or help relocating here, I hope you'll pass this video on to them. We try to do this once a week or once every other week. And if you missed the live, it's going to be playing on our channel from here to come. So thanks again for being here, you guys. Drake, do you have anything to close out with?
That's it from me. Looking forward to next week or the following.
Okay. And you guys, check out my home tours. I have city statistics, and I help everybody from Waxahachie to McKinney. So I would love for you to be on my team, and I would love for you to use me and Drake and help you get the perfect home. So let's end today with not goodbye, but we'll see you at the next one. So see you guys later. Okay.